The massive alien ship descended through Earth's atmosphere like a mountain made of metal. Its shadow fell over the United Nations headquarters in New York, where hundreds of diplomats and military officials gathered to witness humanity's formal welcome into the galactic community. The ship's purple-tinted hull gleamed in the morning sun, making even Earth's most advanced spacecraft look like toys in comparison. Captain James Walker stood at attention among the other military representatives, his jaw clenched tight. 20 years of service in the Space Force hadn't prepared him for this moment. The aliens called themselves the Stellar Council, and they claimed to welcome humanity as equals. But Walker had seen the looks they gave Earth's technology. The same looks rich people gave to beggars on the street. The ship's landing ramp extended with a soft hiss, releasing a cloud of strange-smelling vapor. High Commander Reed emerged, his tall, slim figure wrapped in shimmering robes that changed color with each movement. His gray skin had a metallic sheen, and his 4 eyes blinked in different patterns as he surveyed the crowd. "People of Earth," Reed's voice boomed through the universal translator. "Today marks your species' first step into a larger universe. The Stellar Council welcomes you with open arms, and, as is our custom, presents you with a gift worthy of this historic occasion." Walker watched as a hologram appeared above the crowd, showing another spacecraft. Unlike the commander's gleaming vessel, this one looked old and worn. Its hull was patched in dozens of places, and some sections appeared to be different colors entirely, as if they'd been replaced with whatever parts were available. "Behold the star wreck," Reed announced, his upper eyes narrowing in what might have been amusement. "A vessel from our own fleet, generously decommissioned for your use. While it may seem modest by our current standards, we believe it perfectly matches your species' current technological development." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Walker heard someone behind him whisper, "They're giving us their garbage." He silenced them with a sharp look, but privately, he agreed. This wasn't a gift. It was an insult wrapped in diplomatic niceties. The next day, Walker found himself assigned to lead the evaluation team for humanity's first alien spacecraft. He stood in the hangar, staring up at the star wreck. Up close, it looked even worse than the hologram had suggested. The ship was massive, almost half a kilometer long, but it looked like it had been through a war, or several wars. "Well, this is going to be interesting," a voice said behind him. Walker turned to see Kate Miller, Earth's top spacecraft engineer, running her hand along a scared section of the hull. Her expression reminded him of a kid on Christmas morning, even if the present was a broken toy. "That's one way to put it," Walker replied. "Have you seen the initial scans?" Kate nodded, pulling up a holographic display from her tablet. "Life support systems are running at 60% efficiency. Engine core is stable but operating well below optimal levels. Weapons systems." She paused, frowning. "Actually, I can't make sense of the weapons systems. The scans show they're there, but they're either powered down or something else." Walker followed her into the ship through the main airlock. The interior was a maze of corridors lit by flickering purple lights. The air smelled stale, with an underlying metallic tang that made his nose itch. Everything was sized slightly wrong. Doorways a bit too tall, corridors a bit too wide, control panels placed just a little too high for comfortable human use. They found their way to the bridge, where a team of technicians was already trying to make sense of the alien controls. The command center was a mess of exposed wiring and partially dismantled panels. Several screens flickered with alien text that the universal translators were struggling to decode. "Look at this," Kate called from a console she'd opened up. "These circuits, they're not like anything in the technical manual the Council provided. They're older, yes, but there's something about their configuration." Walker leaned in for a closer look. He wasn't an engineer, but he'd learned enough about spacecraft systems during his career to know that something wasn't adding up. The technology looked primitive at first glance, but there was an elegance to its design that suggested hidden complexity. A loud bang echoed through the ship, followed by the wail of emergency sirens. Warning lights flashed as the artificial gravity fluctuated, making Walker's stomach lurch. He grabbed a handrail to steady himself. "Status report," he barked. "Life support just dropped to 40%. One of the technicians called out. "No, wait. It's back to 60%. Now 75%. The readings keep changing." Kate was already moving, her fingers flying over the control panels. "The ship's systems are responding to our presence. Every time we interface with one system, others adjust automatically. It's like it's learning, trying to calibrate itself to human parameters." Walker was about to respond when a new voice filled the bridge. "Hi, Commander Reed," his hologram appearing in the center of the room. "Is everything all right?" he asked, his tone dripping with false concern. "We detected some unusual energy signatures from the vessel. Perhaps the technology is too advanced for your current capabilities. We would be happy to send a technical team to assist." "Thank you, Commander," Walker replied, keeping his voice steady. "Just some minor calibration issues. My team has everything under control." Reed's upper eyes narrowed again. "Of course. Do let us know if you require any guidance. We wouldn't want any accidents with such an advanced piece of technology." The hologram disappeared, but Walker caught the slight smile on Reed's face. He turned to Kate, who was still studying the ship's systems with intense concentration. "What aren't they telling us?" he asked quietly. Kate looked up, her eyes bright with excitement and suspicion. "This ship, it's not what they claim it is. These systems aren't just old. They're prototypes. Look at how they're interconnected, how they adapt and evolve. This isn't primitive technology. It's experimental. The question is, did they give it to us because they thought it was worthless, or because they wanted to see what would happen?" Walker stared at the alien text scrolling across the nearest screen. The ship groaned around them as more systems came online, each one seemingly adjusting itself to human preferences. He had a feeling they were about to find out just how much the Stellar Council had underestimated humanity's ability to turn their technological trash into treasure. "Get me everything you can on this ship's capabilities," he ordered. "Real capabilities, not what's in their manual. Something tells me we're going to need to know exactly what we're dealing with." As if in response, the ship's lights steadied, and the air circulation system hummed to life with renewed efficiency. Walker couldn't shake the feeling that the star wreck wasn't just adapting to them, it was choosing to help them. And if he was right, the Stellar Council's gift might turn out to be far more valuable than they ever intended. 3 weeks after receiving the star wreck, Kate found herself sleeping in the engine room, surrounded by tools and empty coffee cups. The ship had become an obsession. Every system she studied revealed new surprises, like a puzzle box that kept opening into deeper layers. She was about to doze off when a strange pattern caught her eye on one of her diagnostic screens. The ship's power core was doing something impossible. It was rewriting its own operating protocols. She sat up straight, suddenly wide awake. "Captain Walker," she called through the intercom. "You need to see this." Walker arrived minutes later, looking as tired as she felt. The past weeks had aged them all. The Stellar Council's gift had consumed every waking moment of their lives. "What am I looking at?" he asked, staring at the screen full of shifting numbers and diagrams. Kate pointed to a series of energy readings. "Remember how we couldn't get the power core above 40% efficiency? Look what happened when we installed those Earth-made power regulators yesterday." The display showed energy flowing through the ship's systems in new patterns. The alien technology hadn't rejected the human modifications. It had absorbed them, learned from them, and improved itself. "The ship isn't just accepting our repairs," Kate explained, her voice rising with excitement. "It's using them as templates to evolve. Every piece of human tech we add makes it stronger. It's like it's been waiting for someone to think differently." Walker leaned closer to the screen. "Is that safe?" "More than safe. The efficiency ratings are now at 85% and climbing. The life support systems have stabilized completely. And look at this." She pulled up another display showing the ship's structural integrity field. "The hull reinforcement plates we added last week. The ship analyzed them and created an entirely new type of energy shield by combining our materials science with its own technology. A loud hum filled the engine room as another system came online. Lights flickered, and for a moment, both humans felt a strange tingling sensation, as if the ship was scanning them. "What was that?" Walker asked. Kate's fingers flew over the control panel. "The weapons systems just activated. But they're different now. The ship is incorporating principles from old Earth naval warfare into its targeting algorithms. It's learning our military history, adapting it to space combat." Walker watched as more systems lit up across the diagnostic display. The star wreck was awakening, piece by piece, becoming something neither human nor alien, but a unique hybrid of both. The ship's internal communications suddenly crackled to life. "Captain," a junior officer's voice came through, sounding worried. "We're being hailed by the Stellar Council's observation post. They're demanding to know about the energy signatures they're detecting." Walker and Kate shared a look. They'd known this moment would come, the moment when the Council realized something unexpected was happening with their primitive gift. "Tell them we're conducting routine maintenance," Walker ordered. "And get me a complete report on all our modifications. I want to know exactly what this ship can do now." Hours later, they gathered in the newly functioning conference room. The air was crisp and clean, the lighting perfect for human eyes. Even the chairs had reshaped themselves for human comfort, another unexpected adaptation by the ship. "The Council didn't give us junk," Kate announced to the assembled team. "They gave us something they didn't understand themselves. This ship isn't outdated technology. It's prototype technology. It's designed to evolve, to learn, to grow. They probably thought it was worthless because it never worked right for them." She brought up a holographic display showing the ship's systems. Their rigid, standardized approach to technology couldn't unlock its potential. But humans, we're masters at working with limited resources, at finding unconventional solutions. Every primitive fix we've applied has taught the ship new ways to solve problems. "And now they're getting nervous," Walker added. "Those energy signatures they detected, that's just the beginning. The ship is integrating everything we add, becoming more powerful than they ever imagined possible." The meeting was interrupted by another hail from the Stellar Council. This time, High Commander Reed's hologram appeared in the center of the room, all four eyes focused intently on Walker. "Captain," Reed's voice was tight with barely controlled anger. "Our sensors indicate you've been making modifications to our generous gift. This is most concerning. That vessel contains sensitive technology that must be properly maintained according to Council protocols." Walker stood straight, meeting Reed's gaze. "The ship is functioning better than ever, Commander. Our engineers have made remarkable progress in integrating it with our systems." "Impossible," Reed snapped. "Your primitive technology couldn't possibly improve upon our designs. We demand an immediate inspection." "For safety reasons, of course." "Of course," Walker replied smoothly. "However, we're in the middle of several critical upgrades, perhaps in a few days." "This is not a request, Captain." Reed's upper eyes narrowed dangerously. "A technical team will arrive within 6 hours. I suggest you prepare accordingly." After the hologram vanished, Kate turned to Walker. "They're scared," she said. "They never expected us to unlock the ship's true potential. If they inspect it now, they'll either try to take it back or sabotage it." Walker finished. "Neither of those is going to happen." He activated the ship-wide comm system. "All hands, this is the captain. We have 6 hours to prepare for an inspection. Let's show our friends from the Council exactly what humanity can do with their cast-offs." The next 6 hours were a blur of activity. Under Kate's direction, they carefully masked the most dramatic improvements, making them look like clumsy human attempts at repair. They hid the true power readings behind false displays showing barely functional systems. When the Council's inspection team arrived, they found exactly what they expected to see: primitive humans struggling with advanced technology. They poked around the ship with obvious disdain, making notes about improper modifications and technological contamination. What they didn't notice was how the ship itself helped maintain the deception, adjusting its readings and responses to match their expectations. It was like the vessel understood the need for secrecy, working with its human crew to hide its true nature. After the inspection team left, Kate found Walker staring out a viewport at the Council ship departing Earth's orbit. "They bought it," she said, "but they'll be watching us more closely now. They know something's not right, even if they can't prove it." Walker nodded. "How long until the ship is fully integrated with all our modifications?" "A few more days, maybe a week." Kate smiled. "Want to know the best part? Every time they scan us, every bit of data they collect, the ship learns from it. Their own surveillance is making us stronger." The star wreck hummed around them, its systems pulsing with hidden power. In trying to keep humanity down, the Stellar Council had given them exactly what they needed to rise up. They just didn't know it yet. The newly renamed Phoenix moved through space with a grace that made other ships look clumsy in comparison. 1 month had passed since the Council's inspection, and the ship had evolved far beyond anyone's expectations. Its hull now shimmered with an iridescent coating that could absorb most scanning beams, and its engines barely registered on standard detection equipment. Walker stood on the bridge, watching as his crew ran combat drills. The Phoenix responded to their commands instantly, as if it could read their intentions before they even touched the controls. The ship had become an extension of its crew, growing and adapting with each passing day. "Captain," called out the sensor operator, "we're picking up multiple Council vessels approaching Earth's orbit." Walker frowned. The Council had been increasing their patrols lately, but this was different. "Show me." The main screen lit up with tactical data. 5 Council warships arranged in a standard patrol formation, but their energy signatures suggested they were running their weapons hot, ready for combat. "They're hailing us," the communications officer announced. High Commander Reed's hologram appeared, but this time his usual smugness was replaced with barely concealed anger. "Captain Walker, your vessel has been designated for immediate inspection and possible decommissioning. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded." Walker kept his voice calm. "On what grounds, Commander?" "We have detected unauthorized modifications that pose a severe security risk. This is not a request. You have 10 minutes to comply." After Reed's hologram vanished, Kate burst onto the bridge. "They know," she said. "Or at least, they suspect. Our last test of the new shield system must have caught their attention." Walker nodded grimly. "How many of our improvements can they detect?" "Not many. The Phoenix has gotten very good at hiding its true capabilities." Kate moved to a control panel, bringing up detailed system readings. "But they're not really here for an inspection. Look at their weapon signatures. They're carrying enough firepower to cripple a small fleet." The bridge crew watched as the Council ships moved to surround them. They were trying to be subtle about it, but their intentions were clear. The Phoenix wasn't going anywhere without their permission. "All hands, battle stations," Walker ordered. He wouldn't fire first, but he'd be damned if he'd let them take this ship without a fight. The Phoenix's response was immediate. Internal lighting shifted to combat settings, and new displays appeared showing tactical options that hadn't existed an hour ago. The ship was evolving even now, preparing for its first real fight. "Sir," Kate called out, excitement in her voice. "The weapon systems, they're online. All of them. Look at this." The tactical display showed capabilities that went far beyond standard ship weapons. The Phoenix had taken their primitive projectile weapon designs and combined them with alien energy technology, creating hybrid systems that defied conventional defense strategies. "They're powering up weapons," the sensor operator reported. "Targeting solutions locked on our engine section." Walker opened a channel. "Commander Reed, your aggressive actions are a violation of your own Council's protocols. We haven't shown any hostile intent." Reed's response was immediate. "Your continued operation of that vessel is the hostile act, Captain. We know you've activated restricted military systems. The Council cannot allow a primitive species access to such technology. Primitive. Walker allowed himself a small smile. Maybe you should have thought about that before giving us this ship. A warning alarm blared. One of the Council ships had launched a probe, a standard precursor to military action in Council doctrine. The Phoenix reacted before anyone could give an order, its new defensive systems automatically shifting to intercept the threat. The probe exploded harmlessly against an energy shield that, according to Council records, shouldn't have existed. Reed's hologram reappeared, all four eyes wide with shock. "Impossible," he breathed. "Those systems were completely deactivated. We made sure of it." "Funny thing about deactivated systems," Kate said, stepping into view of the hologram. "They can be reactivated if you're creative enough. And humans, we're very creative." The Council ships adjusted their positions, weapons charged but not firing. They seemed unsure now, faced with capabilities they hadn't expected. "This is your final warning," Reed snarled. "Surrender the vessel or face the consequences." Walker looked around his bridge, saw the determination in his crew's faces. "Kate, show them consequence Alpha 3. Kate's fingers danced across her console. The Phoenix's hull rippled, and suddenly the Council ship's sensors were reflecting back at them, creating ghost images that made their targeting systems useless. What is this?" Reed demanded. "Just a little trick we learned from studying old Earth naval warfare," Walker replied. "Amazing what you can do when you combine simple mirror technology with advanced alien systems." The Council ship's formation wavered. Their rigid military doctrine hadn't prepared them for this kind of adaptation. They had expected to find humans playing with technology they didn't understand. Instead, they found innovations they couldn't counter. "The Council will not stand for this," Reed warned. "You don't understand what you're dealing with." "No, Commander," Walker countered. "You don't understand what you're dealing with. Humanity has spent its entire history adapting, improving, and overcoming. You gave us this ship thinking we couldn't unlock its potential. You were wrong." The Phoenix's systems hummed with power, displaying combat solutions that would have impressed even the most advanced Council tactical officers. The ship wasn't just ready for battle, it was eager to prove itself. "You have 24 hours to present this situation to your full Council," Walker continued. "We'll be happy to discuss this like equals. But if you try to take this ship by force..." He let the threat hang in the air. Reed's hologram flickered with rage, but the Council ships began to back away. They maintained weapons lock, but it was clear they weren't ready to start a fight they weren't sure they could win. After the Council ships withdrew to a safe distance, Kate turned to Walker. "They'll be back, and next time they'll bring more ships." Walker nodded. "How long until the Phoenix completes its current round of adaptations?" "A few hours, but that's not what worries me." Kate brought up a new display, showing complex energy patterns throughout the ship. "These readings, I think the Council gave us this ship for a reason, and I don't think it was just to keep us down." "What do you mean?" "The way it learns, adapts, evolves. It's too perfect. Almost like they wanted to see what would happen," Walker finished. "But why?" The Phoenix's systems pulsed around them, as if responding to their conversation. Whatever the Council's true motives were, they would soon discover that their plan had backfired spectacularly. They had given humanity exactly what it needed to challenge their dominance. The next 24 hours would determine whether that challenge would end in peace or war. Either way, the galaxy was about to learn an important lesson about underestimating primitive species. The 24-hour deadline passed without any word from the Stellar Council. The Phoenix orbited Earth in high alert status, its crew tense and ready. Walker hadn't left the bridge, and Kate spent her time diving deeper into the ship's systems, looking for any advantage they could get. The attack, when it came, wasn't what anyone expected. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. The sensor operator shouted, "They're everywhere." Walker watched in shock as the tactical display lit up with dozens of contact signatures. Council ships appeared in a sphere around Earth, their weapons already charged. But the real surprise came from closer to home. "Captain." Kate's voice crackled through the intercom. "The ship's original communication systems just activated. They're broadcasting some kind of signal to all the Council vessels." Walker's blood ran cold. "Shut it down." "I'm trying, but wait." Kate's voice changed from panic to surprise. "The Phoenix is fighting back. It's not just blocking the signal, it's reading it. Captain, you need to see this." The main screen filled with decoded data. The original communication systems hadn't been deactivated. They'd been hibernating, waiting to activate when enough Council ships were in range. The star wreck hadn't just been a cast-off gift. It had been a trap. "It was supposed to be a control signal," Kate explained, her fingers flying over the controls. "The ship was designed to help them take control of Earth's defenses, but the Phoenix has evolved so far beyond its original programming that it's not just resisting, it's turning their signal against them." The Council ships opened fire, not at the Phoenix, but at Earth's orbital defense platforms. Energy beams lanced out, targeting communication arrays and weapon systems. But something strange happened. The attacks weren't having the expected effect. "The Phoenix is broadcasting our shield modifications to the defense platforms," Kate announced triumphantly. "It's teaching them how to adapt, just like it learned from us." Walker watched in amazement as Earth's primitive defenses absorbed the Council's attacks, growing stronger with each blast. The Phoenix had shared its evolution with its human-made cousins, creating a defense network that learned and adapted in real time. High Commander Reed's hologram appeared on the bridge, his face twisted with rage. "What have you done?" he demanded. "That ship was supposed to be our key to controlling your world's defenses. How dare you corrupt our technology with your primitive modifications?" "Corrupt it?" Walker laughed. "We improved it. Something you never could, because you were too set in your ways to see new possibilities." A new alarm sounded. Kate's voice came through again, excited. "Captain, I found something in the decoded signals. The Council's been doing this for centuries, giving gifts of modified ships to developing worlds, then using them to take control. They've got dozens of species under their thumb, all thinking they're too primitive to deserve better technology." The Phoenix shuddered as it took a direct hit from a Council battleship, but instead of causing damage, the energy was absorbed, analyzed, and added to the ship's growing database of combat knowledge. Launch fighters. Reed commanded his fleet, overwhelmed their defenses with numbers. Swarms of small Council ships poured out of the larger vessels, but the Phoenix was ready. Its hybrid weapons opened up, combining human-inspired projectiles with alien energy fields. The result was devastating. Clouds of smart missiles that could learn from each attempted interception, adjusting their attack patterns in real time. "Sir," the tactical officer called out, "the Phoenix is suggesting a new combat strategy. It's based on old Earth naval battles." Walker smiled. "Let's show them how primitive humans fight. Execute the suggested patterns." The Phoenix moved like nothing the Council had ever seen. It combined maneuvers from ancient sailing ships with space combat tactics, creating unpredictable attack patterns that their targeting systems couldn't track. Each time they adapted to one strategy, the ship would switch to another, pulling from centuries of human military history. "Impossible." Reed raged as another of his ships took heavy damage. "Your species barely understands space travel. You can't be defeating our advanced technology." "That's your problem, Commander," Walker replied calmly. "You think advancement only moves in one direction, but sometimes the old ways, combined with new technology, create something better than either alone." Kate's voice came through again. "Captain, I'm broadcasting the truth about their control ships to every species they've suppressed. The Phoenix is teaching other primitive ships how to break free. The revolution is spreading." The Council fleet's formation began to break down as reports came in from across their territory. Ships they had given to other species were suddenly breaking free of control, turning against their would-be masters. The Phoenix had started a chain reaction that was spreading faster than they could contain. "This is your last chance, Commander," Walker offered. "Withdraw your ships and face what you've done. Your time of keeping other species down is over." Reed's response was to order his remaining ships to concentrate fire on the Phoenix. But the ship had evolved too far, learned too much. It danced through the barrage, its hybrid shields glowing as they absorbed and redirected energy back at the attackers. "Kate," Walker called out, "show them what happens when you underestimate human ingenuity." The Phoenix's systems reached full power for the first time, combining every lesson learned, every adaptation made, every bit of human creativity merged with alien technology. The result was spectacular, a cascading wave of energy that swept through the Council fleet, disabling their weapons but leaving their life support intact. "How?" Reed's hologram flickered as his ship's power failed. "How could primitives like you do this?" "Because we're not primitive," Walker answered. "We're different. And different isn't inferior. It's just different. You gave us this ship thinking it would help you control us. Instead, it helped us show the galaxy what humanity can really do." The Council fleet hung powerless in space as Earth's defense platforms, now enhanced by the Phoenix's shared evolution, kept them covered. Around the galaxy, other species were breaking free, their gift ships turning into tools of liberation rather than control. The Phoenix had done more than survive the Council's trap. It had turned their own weapon into a key that unlocked freedom for countless worlds. And it had proven once and for all that sometimes the best way to advance wasn't to follow the expected path, but to forge your own. In the days following the Great Battle, the Phoenix became a symbol of hope across the galaxy. Ships from dozens of species, all previously trapped by the Council's gifts, arrived in Earth's orbit. Each vessel showed signs of modification and adaptation, inspired by the example humanity had set. Walker stood in the Phoenix's observation deck, watching as another diplomatic shuttle arrived. This one carried representatives from a world that had been under Council control for over 300 years. Their ship's hull bore the same telltale patches and modifications that the Phoenix had once shown. "They're calling it the Great Liberation," Kate said, joining him at the window. She looked tired but happy. The past week had been a blur of sharing technical knowledge with other species, helping them fully unlock their ship's potential. Every hour, more worlds are breaking free of Council control. The Phoenix hummed contentedly around them. The ship had grown far beyond its original design, becoming something entirely new. Its hull now shimmered with a coating that combined elements from a dozen different species' technologies, each addition making it stronger and more adaptable. "Message from Earth Command," the communications officer called out. "The Council representatives are ready for the negotiation session." Walker nodded. This would be different from their previous encounters with High Commander Reed. After their defeat, the Council's leadership structure had crumbled. The younger members, those who had always questioned the policy of suppressing primitive species, had taken control. The meeting took place in a newly constructed space station in Earth orbit. Representatives from 20 formerly suppressed species sat around a large table, with the Council delegates at one end looking distinctly uncomfortable. "The Council acknowledges its errors," the new Council speaker began. Her 4 eyes were fixed on the table, unable to meet the gaze of those her people had wronged. "For too long, we believed that there was only one path to advancement. We were wrong." "Wrong doesn't begin to cover it," a representative from one of the liberated worlds growled. "You kept us down for generations." Walker raised his hand for calm. The Phoenix had made Earth the natural leader of this coalition, but leadership meant keeping peace as well as fighting for freedom. "The past can't be changed," he said, "but we can build a better future. Look at what we've already accomplished by sharing knowledge and working together." Kate activated a holographic display, showing the combined technological achievements of the past week. Ships from different species had begun sharing their innovations, each adding their own unique perspectives to the pool of knowledge. The result was an explosion of advancement that put the Council's rigid development path to shame. Our scientists estimate that combined technological progress across all liberated worlds has advanced more in the past week than in the previous 100 years, Kate explained. By working together, by combining different approaches and viewpoints, we're all growing stronger. The Phoenix's success had proven that progress didn't have to follow a single path. Each species brought their own strengths, their own ways of thinking, their own solutions to problems. When combined, these different approaches created something far more powerful than any one civilization could achieve alone. The Council requests readmission to the galactic community, the speaker said quietly. We offer our technology, our knowledge, everything we have, freely this time, without conditions or controls. Walker looked around the table, seeing the mix of anger and hope on the faces of the representatives. We don't want your technology, he said finally. We want your participation, real participation, as equals. Every species here has something valuable to contribute, including yours, but only if you're willing to learn as well as teach. The speaker's eyes widened in surprise. She had expected demands for reparations, for technology, for wealth. Instead, she was being offered a chance to be part of something new. To demonstrate our commitment, Walker continued, we're sharing the complete technical data from the Phoenix project. Not just the modifications, but the entire process of discovery, every failure, every success, every unexpected development. Let it be a template for how different approaches can work together. Kate brought up another display, this one showing the Phoenix's current status. The ship had become a testing ground for cooperative development, with engineering teams from different species working together to explore new possibilities. The Phoenix isn't just a ship anymore, Kate explained. It's become a proving ground for cooperation. Every species that studies it finds something new, something that others missed. And when we combine those discoveries, she gestured to a series of smaller displays showing new technologies being developed across the liberated worlds. Propulsion systems that combine Council energy technology with organic computing from another species. Defense systems that merged primitive kinetic weapons with advanced force fields. Medical technology that blended different approaches to healing. This is what happens when we work together, Walker said. Not as advanced and primitive, not as teachers and students, but as equals, each bringing our own strengths, our own perspectives. The speaker stood, her robes shifting color with the movement. The Council accepts these terms. We have much to learn about. Cooperation. As the meeting concluded, Walker returned to the Phoenix. The ship's corridors now hosted crews from a dozen different species, all working together, all learning from each other. What had started as a trap, as an attempt to control humanity, had become a symbol of liberation and cooperation. Hard to believe it all started with them, giving us their worst ship, Kate mused as they reached the bridge. Walker smiled, running his hand along a control panel that had reshaped itself to be comfortable for any species to use. Maybe that's the greatest lesson here. It's not about having the best tools. It's about how you use what you have. And sometimes, the worst gift can become the best opportunity. The Phoenix's systems hummed in agreement, its hybrid technology a testament to what could be achieved when different paths came together. In trying to keep humanity down, the Council had instead lifted up an entire galaxy. And this was just the beginning. In the observation deck, representatives from different species gathered to watch their home stars. Each one had a different story of liberation, a different path to this moment. But they all shared one thing: hope for a future where progress wasn't measured by how well you followed a prescribed path, but by how many new paths you could forge together. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council sparkled with the light of 1,000 stars, its crystal walls reflecting the glow of distant nebulas. Commander James Walker stood straight and proud in his dark blue Earth uniform, trying not to feel small as towering alien figures walked past him. Today was supposed to be Earth's big moment, but he could already hear the whispers and see the looks of amusement on the aliens' faces. Behind him, floating on anti-gravity platforms, were the holographic displays showing Earth's newest space carrier. The ship looked nothing like the elegant vessels of the other species. Instead of sweeping curves and gleaming spires, it was basically a giant box with engines. Walker knew what was coming, but he kept his face calm. "And now," announced the council speaker, a tall being made of shifting light, "we shall review Earth's contribution to our joint defense initiative." The speaker's voice echoed through the chamber as the main hologram activated, showing the carrier in all its blocky glory. For 3 seconds, there was complete silence. Then came the laughter. It started with a few snickers from the Stardwellers, those proud warriors with their shining armor and fancy ships. Then it spread through the chamber like a wave. Even the usually serious rock clans were making grinding sounds that passed for their version of chuckles. "Is this some kind of joke?" asked Admiral Brightstar of the Stardwellers, his crystalline form glittering with amusement. "We asked for a warship, not a cargo container." More laughter followed his words. Walker felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his voice steady. "The Earth Carrier Undertaker represents our best military technology. Its design is perfectly suited for its purpose." "Undertaker?" another alien delegate called out. "How fitting. It looks like a coffin." The chamber erupted in fresh laughter. The Stardweller Admiral floated down from his high seat, his crystalline body casting rainbow patterns on the floor. He circled the hologram, making exaggerated gestures of study. "Let me understand this correctly," he said, his voice dripping with mockery. "While we have ships that can dance between stars, that can shift their forms at will, that can generate shields powerful enough to withstand supernovas, Earth presents us with a box." Walker looked at the hologram of the Undertaker. Yes, it was ugly compared to the other ships. Its dark gray hull was flat and undecorated. Its shape was basically a rectangle with engines attached. But he knew what lay inside, what secrets those simple walls held. "Beauty isn't everything, Admiral," Walker said calmly. "Form follows function." "And what function would that be?" the Admiral asked. "Storage. Perhaps it's a very advanced space warehouse." His comment earned more laughs from the assembly. The council speaker raised a limb of light for silence. "Commander Walker, we appreciate Earth's effort to contribute, but surely you understand our concerns. The threat we face from the Void Swarm is very real. Their machine armies have already consumed 3 star systems. We need serious military vessels, not this." Walker stepped forward, his boots clicking on the crystal floor. "With all due respect, Speaker, the Undertaker is exactly what we need. Our scientists and engineers have developed new technologies, new approaches to space combat." "New?" the Admiral interrupted. "Your ship doesn't even have basic energy shields. Those flat walls would be torn apart by the first Void Swarm fighter that spots them." He turned to address the council. "Look at these primitive point defense systems. Look at these ancient chemical thrusters. This ship belongs in a museum, not a battle fleet." Walker felt a message buzz in his pocket. It was from Martha Reed, the chief engineer back on Earth. "Let them laugh," she wrote. "They don't know what they're looking at." He almost smiled. Martha was right. None of these aliens, with all their advanced technology, had figured out what the Undertaker really was. They saw a box, a coffin, a primitive attempt at spaceship design. They didn't see the quantum displacement fields hidden in those flat walls. They didn't understand how the ship's simple shape was actually perfect for generating the phase shift effect. They had no idea that Earth scientists had found inspiration not in advanced physics, but in the humble sea cucumber and its ability to change the structure of its skin. "The Undertaker will prove its worth when the time comes," Walker said simply. "Oh, it will prove something," the Admiral replied with a dismissive wave of his crystalline hand. "It will prove that humans are still centuries behind the rest of the galaxy. We were wrong to think you were ready to join this alliance." The council speaker's light dimmed slightly, showing disappointment. Perhaps it would be best if Earth focused on supporting roles. Supply lines, perhaps, or medical services. Leave the fighting to those better equipped for it. Walker wanted to argue, to tell them everything the Undertaker could do. But those were secrets he couldn't share. Not yet. Earth's scientists had discovered something amazing, something that could change space warfare forever. But the advantage lay in surprise, in letting everyone think they were looking at a primitive box instead of a revolution in military technology. "We accept your feedback," Walker said diplomatically. "Earth will continue to develop our technology in our own way." As the council moved on to other matters, Walker stood quietly, listening to the occasional snickers and whispered jokes about Earth's coffin. He thought about the Void Swarm, that terrible army of self-replicating machines that was eating its way through the galaxy. He thought about the Stardwellers' beautiful ships with their powerful shields, and how those shields had failed against the Swarm's adaptive weapons. Soon, everyone would see what the Undertaker could really do. Soon, they would understand why its shape was exactly what it needed to be. Soon, they would learn that sometimes the simplest solution was the best one. But for now, Walker just had to wait. Let them laugh. Let them mock Earth's primitive technology. Let them think humans were centuries behind. The best surprises, after all, come in plain boxes. Back aboard the Undertaker, Walker walked through the plain metal corridors toward the engineering section. The ship might look simple, but every inch of it had been carefully designed. Even the flat walls that everyone had mocked served a special purpose. He smiled, thinking about how wrong the aliens were about Earth's technology. Martha Ree met him at the engineering bay doors. She was shorter than Walker, with gray hair tied back in a neat bun and hands that were stained with engine grease. "I saw the council meeting," she said, falling into step beside him. "Those stuck-up crystals sure had a good laugh, didn't they?" "They won't be laughing much longer," Walker replied, as they entered the massive engine room. This was where the real magic happened. Unlike the showy engine rooms of alien ships, with their glowing crystals and floating power cores, the Undertaker's heart looked almost ordinary. Almost. Martha walked up to a control panel and pressed her hand against it. A hidden door slid open in the wall, revealing a room that didn't show up on any official blueprints. "Want to see how our primitive systems are doing?" The secret chamber was filled with screens showing complex data streams. In the center stood a large tank filled with clear liquid, where something that looked like a sea cucumber floated peacefully. "Meet our teacher," Martha said, touching the tank gently. Who would have thought that the key to beating the Void Swarm would come from a creature that's been around since before the dinosaurs? Walker watched the sea cucumber float. Earth scientists had spent years studying how these simple animals could make their skin go from hard to soft in seconds. The creature could literally change the structure of its body, letting it squeeze through tiny spaces and survive attacks from predators. "The quantum displacement field is stable," Martha reported, checking the readings. "We can make the Undertaker's hull change its structure, just like our little friend here. Energy weapons, physical projectiles. They'll pass right through us like we're not even there. And the aliens think we don't have shields." Walker chuckled. "We don't need them. Can't hit what you can't touch." Martha pulled up a hologram showing the ship's systems, the box shape they laughed at. "It's perfect for generating the quantum field. All those fancy curved hulls the aliens use would make the field unstable. Sometimes the simplest shape is the best shape." She typed some commands, and the screen showed simulations of the ship in combat. "See these test results. When the Void Swarm tries to adapt to our defenses, they won't find anything to adapt to. Their weapons will just pass through empty space while we take them apart." Walker nodded, remembering the mocking laughter in the council chamber. The Stardwellers think their energy shields are the peak of defensive technology. But shields can be overwhelmed, broken down. You can't break what isn't there. "Speaking of which," Martha said, walking to another console, "let me show you the latest improvements to the point defense system." She brought up more diagrams. "These primitive gun turrets, each one can shift phase, just like the hull. They'll be solid long enough to fire, then phase out before any return fire can hit them." Walker studied the designs. The aliens had called Earth's weapons primitive because they used physical ammunition instead of energy beams. They didn't understand that sometimes old ideas mixed with new technology could create something revolutionary. "How did the test runs go?" he asked. Martha's eyes lit up. "Perfect. Watch this." She played a recording from their last secret trial. The Undertaker faced off against drone ships using copied Void Swarm weapons. The drones fired their adaptive energy beams, but the shots passed harmlessly through the carrier's hull. Then the Undertaker's guns opened up, switching rapidly between solid and phase states, unleashing devastating barrages while remaining untouchable. "Beautiful," Walker said quietly. "And the power consumption. That's the best part," Martha replied. "The quantum displacement field uses less energy than those flashy alien shields. We can keep this up for days without straining the engines. Simple efficiency. Another Earth specialty that they mock us for." They spent the next hour going through system checks and running simulations. Every test showed the same results. The Undertaker wasn't just ready for combat. It was ready to revolutionize space warfare. "There's something else you should see," Martha said, leading Walker to a smaller room off the main chamber. Inside was a tall tube filled with swirling liquid metal. "Remember how the sea cucumber taught us about quantum displacement? Well, we learned something else from nature too." She pressed some buttons, and the liquid metal formed into complex shapes before dissolving again. "Adaptive armor, based on how octopuses can change their skin texture. Once we perfect this, we'll be able to reshape parts of the ship at will." "Damage. Self-repair. Need a different weapon configuration. The hull itself becomes the weapon." Walker watched the swirling metal with fascination. "How long until it's ready?" "A few more months of testing. But the quantum displacement system is ready now. The next time the Void Swarm attacks." She left the sentence unfinished, but her smile said everything. As they walked back through the ship's corridors, Walker thought about the council meeting again. He thought about how the aliens had dismissed Earth's contribution without ever understanding what they were looking at. They were so focused on their advanced technology, their complex solutions, that they couldn't see the brilliant simplicity right in front of them. "You know what's funny?" Martha said as they reached the bridge. "Those Stardwellers, with all their talk about being centuries ahead of us, they never thought to look back. Never thought that Mother Nature might have already solved the problems they're facing. Too proud to learn from a sea cucumber." Walker looked out the bridge window at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Void Swarm was getting closer. Soon, very soon, everyone would learn what humanity's primitive technology could really do. "Let them keep underestimating us," he said. "The best surprises come in plain boxes, after all." Martha laughed. "A plain box that's going to save their shiny crystal ships. Now that's what I call irony." The emergency alarms woke Walker from a deep sleep. Red lights flashed through the Undertaker's corridors as he rushed to the bridge, still pulling on his uniform jacket. He knew what this meant. The Void Swarm had finally arrived. "Status report," he called out as he entered the bridge. The crew worked quickly at their stations, their faces lit by the glow of emergency lights. Multiple Void Swarm signatures detected at the edge of the star system. His sensor officer reported. "They're coming in fast. Hundreds of ships, maybe thousands." Through the main view screen, Walker watched as the Galactic Council fleet moved into defensive positions. The Stardwellers' beautiful crystal ships led the formation, their energy shields creating stunning patterns of light against the dark of space. Behind them, vessels of every alien species formed up in their practiced battle positions. "The Council is ordering all ships to battle stations," the communications officer announced. "They've placed us in the rear support group." The officer paused, then added, "Admiral Bright Star suggests we should try not to get in the way." Walker ignored the insult. "Take us to our assigned position. Power up all systems, but keep the quantum displacement field offline for now. Let's not show our cards too early." Martha's voice came through on the internal comm system. "Engineering is ready. All systems are green. Our little tricks are ready to go whenever you give the word." The first wave of void swarm ships appeared on the long-range scanners. They looked like dark clouds of metal, constantly shifting and changing shape. These weren't normal machines. They were something worse, something that learned and adapted with every fight. "Look at those fools," Walker's second officer muttered, watching the Stardweller's ships move forward. "They still think their shields will protect them." The first shots were fired. The Void Swarm's energy weapons splashed against the Stardweller's shields, creating beautiful explosions of light. For a moment, it seemed like the alien defenses would hold. Then the swarm adapted. Their weapons changed color, changed frequency, changed their very nature. Suddenly, the proud shields of the crystal ships began to flicker and fail. The first Stardweller vessel exploded in a shower of crystalline fragments. "They're already breaking through." The sensor officer's voice was tense. "The swarm is adapting faster than in previous battles. They must have learned from the last engagement." Walker watched as more alien ships fell. The Council fleet's fancy weapons and shields were failing one by one as the swarm figured out how to counter each defense, each attack strategy. The battle was turning into a slaughter. "Distress call from the Council flagship," the comm officer reported. "They're requesting immediate assistance. Their shields are failing." Admiral Bright Star's voice crackled over the comm system. "All ships, fall back. Their weapons are penetrating our best defenses. We need to regroup." And his transmission cut off as another crystal ship exploded. Walker stood up from his command chair. "I think it's time to show everyone what a simple box can do. Take us in." The bridge crew looked at him with determined smiles. They had trained for this moment. They knew what their ship could really do. "Engineering reports quantum displacement field is ready," Martha called up. "Those sea cucumber tricks are ready to show the galaxy what Earth technology can do." "Full power to engines," Walker ordered. "Take us right into the middle of the fight." The Undertaker moved forward, its boxy shape drawing surprised comments from the alien fleet. Several council members demanded to know what the primitive Earth ship thought it was doing. The Void Swarm noticed them too. A group of their ships broke off from the main attack, their weapons morphing into new configurations to deal with this new target. "They're scanning us," the sensor officer reported, "trying to figure out our defenses." Walker smiled. "Let them scan. They won't find anything to adapt to." "Martha, activate the quantum displacement field." A slight hum ran through the ship as the field came online. The Undertaker's hull began to shift at the quantum level, just like their sea cucumber teacher had shown them. The swarm ships opened fire. Their energy beams, so deadly to the alien shields, passed harmlessly through the Undertaker's hull. Physical projectiles, plasma bursts, even their newest adaptive weapons had no effect. The Earth ship was like a ghost, untouchable and unstoppable. "All weapons, open fire," Walker commanded. "Show them what our primitive guns can do." The Undertaker's point defense systems came alive. The gun turrets phased in and out of normal space, becoming solid just long enough to fire before shifting away from any return shots. Streams of specially designed ammunition tore into the swarm ships, ripping through their adaptive armor before they could figure out how to defend against it. "Enemy ships are attempting to adapt," the tactical officer reported with a note of triumph in his voice. "But they can't find anything to adapt to. Our quantum field keeps shifting faster than their sensors can analyze." Walker watched as the Void Swarm ships, for the first time, seemed confused. Their usual tactics of scanning, adapting, and overwhelming their enemy's defenses weren't working. They couldn't adapt to something that wasn't there to adapt to. "We're drawing more of them away from the Council fleet," the sensor officer reported. "They seem very interested in figuring out how we're doing this." "Good," Walker replied. "Let them come." "Martha, how's the power holding up?" "Better than those fancy alien shields," she replied cheerfully. "We could keep this up all day." Simple efficiency, remember. Through the view screen, Walker could see the remaining alien ships regrouping, their crews no doubt watching in amazement as Earth's primitive vessel took on the Void Swarm single-handedly. "Sir," the comm officer called out, trying to hide a grin, "we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Brightstar. He's asking how we're doing this." Walker thought about all the mockery, all the dismissive comments about Earth's technology. He thought about how they had laughed at the Undertaker's simple shape, its primitive systems. "Tell the Admiral," he said calmly, "that sometimes the best solution is the simplest one. And remind him that you should never judge a ship by its cover." The battle was far from over, but the tide had turned. The Void Swarm had finally met something it couldn't adapt to, couldn't overcome, and it had come in the form of a simple box that everyone had laughed at. Sometimes, Walker thought as he watched another group of swarm ships fail to harm his vessel, the best surprises really do come in plain packages. The space around the Undertaker had become a graveyard of broken Void Swarm ships. Every attempt they made to break through the quantum displacement field failed. Their weapons passed harmlessly through the Earth vessel, while its guns continued to tear them apart piece by piece. "Launch fighter squadrons," Walker ordered, watching as another wave of swarm ships approached. "Let's show them what else this coffin can do." The Undertaker's launch bays opened, releasing squadrons of Earth fighters. Unlike the sleek alien craft, these were blocky and angular, sharing their mothership's practical design. Each one was equipped with its own miniature quantum displacement system. "Fighter squadrons reporting ready," the flight control officer announced. "The swarm is already trying to analyze them. They won't have any more luck with our fighters than they did with us." Martha's voice came through the comm. "Each fighter's quantum field operates on a different frequency. They can't adapt to what they can't predict." The Earth fighters moved in perfect formation, their seemingly primitive designs hiding the same revolutionary technology as their carrier. They dove into the midst of the swarm ships, phasing in and out of normal space as they fired their weapons. "Admiral Brightstar is requesting to speak with you," the comm officer reported. "He sounds different than before." Walker nodded. "Put him through." The Admiral's crystalline face appeared on the screen, his previous arrogance replaced by a mix of shock and respect. "Commander Walker, we never imagined. How are you doing this?" "Remember when you called us primitive?" Walker replied calmly, even as his fighters continued to devastate the swarm. "Sometimes looking backward is the best way to move forward. We learned from nature instead of trying to overcome it." A massive explosion lit up the battlefield as one of the larger swarm ships burst apart under the Undertaker's relentless attack. The remaining alien vessels began to pull back, attempting to regroup and analyze this unexpected threat. "Sir," the tactical officer called out, "the swarm is changing tactics. They're trying to surround us." Walker watched as the dark ships moved to encircle the Undertaker. "They still think there must be some pattern to adapt to. Martha, show them how wrong they are." "Activating random frequency shifts," Martha replied. The quantum displacement field began to change its patterns unpredictably, mimicking the chaos of natural systems. Like trying to punch a wave. There's nothing solid to hit. The swarm's next attack was their most devastating yet. They fired everything they had, using weapons that would have torn through any conventional shield. But the Undertaker and its fighters simply let the attacks pass through them, responding with precisely targeted fire that the swarm couldn't adapt to. "Council ships are moving to support us," the sensor officer reported. "They're following our fighters' attack patterns." Through the view screen, Walker could see the remaining alien vessels taking advantage of the chaos the Undertaker had created. While the swarm focused on trying to defeat Earth's quantum technology, the Council fleet struck from other directions. "They're learning," Walker noted with satisfaction. "Martha, time to show them the last surprise. Deploy the boarding drones." The Undertaker's sides opened, revealing rows of small, simple-looking drones. Like everything else about the Earth ship, they appeared primitive at first glance. But as they launched toward the nearest swarm vessel, they began to phase in and out of normal space. "Boarding drones have made contact," the tactical officer reported. "They're phasing through the swarm ship's outer hulls." They're in. The drones carried a special version of the quantum displacement system. Once inside enemy ships, they solidified at carefully chosen points, destroying vital systems from within. Swarm vessels began to go dark, their adaptive technology useless against an enemy that could strike at their very hearts. Multiple swarm ships are powering down, the sensor officer called out excitedly. Their central processors are being destroyed faster than they can adapt. Admiral Brightstar's voice came through again. Incredible. Simply incredible. Commander, we're detecting a power surge in the remaining swarm ships. They appear to be preparing for a mass retreat. Walker allowed himself a small smile. They'd finally learned something they can't adapt to. Martha, status report. Everything's running smooth as silk, she replied. Power levels are stable. Quantum field is holding strong. We could keep this up all day, but I don't think we'll need to. The void swarm was breaking apart. Ship after ship vanished into faster-than-light travel, fleeing from the battlefield they had expected to dominate. For the first time in known history, the seemingly unstoppable machine collective had been forced to retreat. Receiving transmissions from multiple council ships, the comm officer reported, unable to keep the pride from his voice. They're requesting information about our technology. The Stardwellers are particularly interested in our fighter designs. Walker looked around his bridge at the proud faces of his crew. They had done it. Earth's primitive technology, inspired by the humble sea cucumber, had accomplished what all the advanced alien weapons could not. Sir, Martha called up from engineering. You might want to come down here when you have a chance. Remember that adaptive armor project we were working on, the octopus-inspired one? Well, the data from this battle just helped us solve the final problems. We're ready to start testing. A cheer went up from the bridge crew. They had not only proven their current technology, but were already moving forward with the next innovation. While the aliens had focused on complex solutions, humanity had looked to nature's simple answers and found victory. The Undertaker hung in space, its plain, box-like shape now commanding respect instead of mockery. Around it, the surviving council ships gathered, their crews no doubt reevaluating everything they thought they knew about Earth's technological capabilities. Commander Walker, Admiral Brightstar spoke again, his tone now filled with genuine respect. The Council requests an immediate meeting to discuss the sharing of this technology. We were wrong about Earth's capabilities. Deeply wrong. Walker thought about the sea cucumber in its tank down in engineering, still peacefully floating as it had for millions of years. He thought about how the simplest creatures could sometimes teach the greatest lessons. We'll be happy to collaborate, Admiral, he replied. But first, I think you owe my ship an apology. What was it you called it? A coffin. A coffin indeed, the Admiral agreed, his crystalline form shifting in what might have been embarrassment. But it seems this coffin became the Void Swarm's burial chamber instead. A week after the battle, the Undertaker's bridge was crowded with alien visitors. Engineers from every council species walked through the corridors, studying the ship that had changed their understanding of space warfare. The vessel they had once mocked as a coffin was now the most famous ship in the galaxy. Walker stood in the observation deck, watching as teams of alien scientists examined every inch of the Undertaker's hull. Below in engineering, Martha was giving yet another explanation of the quantum displacement system to a group of amazed Stardweller engineers. It's quite humbling, Admiral Brightstar said, his crystalline form reflecting the starlight as he stood beside Walker. All our advanced technology, and we were outperformed by a design inspired by a simple sea creature. Nature had a few billion years to figure things out, Walker replied. We just had to learn to listen to its lessons. Through the window, they could see several alien ships already being modified with early versions of the quantum displacement technology. The Council had wasted no time in beginning to adapt Earth's innovation for their own vessels. Our engineers are still struggling to understand how you managed to make it work with such a simple power system, the Admiral admitted. Our first attempts at copying the technology required 10 times the energy output. Walker smiled. That's because you're still thinking too much like advanced aliens. You're trying to overcome the laws of physics instead of working with them. The sea cucumber doesn't need massive amounts of energy to change its skin. It uses natural principles that already exist. Martha's voice came through the comm system. Commander, you might want to come down to engineering. We're ready to demonstrate the new adaptive armor system to the Council representatives. The Octopus Inspire technology. The Admiral asked, his crystalline form shifting with interest. You mentioned this during the battle. Another example of learning from Earth's creatures. Come and see for yourself, Walker replied. They made their way down to engineering, where Martha stood next to a large testing chamber. Inside, a section of hull plating seemed to flow like liquid metal, changing its shape and structure. Just like an octopus can change the texture and color of its skin, Martha explained to the gathered aliens, this armor can adapt to any situation. But unlike the Void Swarm's brute force adaptations, this works with natural principles of matter transformation. The aliens watched in amazement as the metal shifted from hard to soft, from smooth to textured, even changing its color and pattern. One of the Stardweller engineers dropped his datapad in shock when the metal briefly turned crystalline, perfectly mimicking their own ship's material. Combined with the quantum displacement system, Martha continued, this will make our ships nearly invincible, and it all runs on less power than a standard shield generator. Because it's not fighting against nature, Walker added. It's working with it, just like the creatures we learned from. The Admiral shook his head in wonder. When I first saw your ship, I thought Earth was centuries behind us. Now I realize you were thinking centuries ahead. We were so focused on advancing beyond nature that we forgot to learn from it. A junior officer hurried into the engineering bay. Commander, urgent message from the Council. Long-range sensors have detected the Void Swarm regrouping at the edge of known space. They appear to be building something. Let them build, Walker said calmly. Whatever they create, they'll still be using the same old approach, trying to overcome natural laws by force. They haven't learned what we have. Martha pulled up a holographic display showing the latest improvements to their systems. We're already working on the next generation of innovations. Did you know that deep-sea anglerfish have a natural cloaking ability? And there's this amazing beetle that can survive being crushed by forces that would destroy our strongest metals. The alien engineers gathered around the display, their previous arrogance replaced by genuine curiosity and respect. They had finally understood that advancement didn't always mean making things more complex. The Council has voted, the Admiral announced. Earth is being promoted to a leading position in our Defense Committee. We want your scientists working directly with our research teams. It seems we have much to learn from your perspective. Walker looked around the engineering bay, at the mixture of human and alien technical crews working together, sharing ideas, and learning from each other. This was what real progress looked like. Not one civilization claiming superiority, but different cultures combining their knowledge and approaches. You know what the funny thing is? Martha said, shutting down the test chamber. If you hadn't all laughed at our coffin design, the Void Swarm might have realized what we were doing. Your mockery gave us the perfect cover. The Admiral's crystalline form shifted in what might have been embarrassment. Perhaps we should start a new council tradition, he suggested. Whenever someone presents an idea that seems too simple to work, we should remember the Undertaker. Speaking of simple ideas that work, Martha added with a grin, wait until you see what we learned from studying tardigrades. Those little water bears might just help us revolutionize faster than light travel. As the aliens excitedly gathered around Martha to hear more, Walker walked back to the observation deck. He looked out at the stars, thinking about how far humanity had come. They had taken their place among the galaxy's most advanced civilizations, not by trying to copy alien technology, but by following their own path. The Undertaker floated proudly in space, its simple shape now a symbol of innovation throughout the galaxy. They had called it a coffin, but it had become something else entirely. a reminder that sometimes the best solutions were the simplest ones, and that wisdom could be found in the most unexpected places. In the end, humanity's greatest strength hadn't been building bigger weapons or more powerful shields. It had been their ability to look at the smallest creatures on their world and see the greatest possibilities in the universe. And somewhere in the Undertaker's engineering bay, a sea cucumber continued to float in its tank, unknowingly having helped change the course of galactic history.